Former tour guide Yang Yin was sentenced to 6 years jail today for misappropriating $1.1 million from a wealthy widow.
This secret affair didn't end with a broken heart, but with cuffs and prison time. The relationship between this young Chinese man and his Singaporean lover wasn't conventional, but both were consenting adults, until a hint of foul play surfaced, revealing a darker truth that changed the fate of the relationship. What really happened, and why did it lead to jail time? Join us as we uncover how this young man's hidden romance turned into a legal nightmare. Beginning from the origin. Yang Yan had no idea what fate had in store for him until he found himself face to face with losing everything that he had achieved within a short frame of time. But to know how he got into this situation, let's uncover what led him there. Yan grew up in a simple home in Nanjing, Jiangsu. His parents, hard-working office workers, did their best to provide a good life for him, working tirelessly to ensure that he never lacked anything. As their only child, he was pampered and adored, treated like a rare gem. With his lively personality and playful charm, he became the center of attention wherever he went. People always wanted to associate with him. However, despite his charming character, Yan's academic performance was average at best, and eventually had to settle for something that he loved doing. At 18, he enrolled in a vocational school in Hangzhou, majoring in tour guiding. His natural charm and smooth-talking skills made him stand out. He had no trouble making friends, and women found him irresistible. Many admired him, showering him with attention, yet he quickly lost interest in relationships that came too easily. Then, everything changed when he met Wang Yandan, a strikingly beautiful girl from another major. Unlike the others, she didn't fall for him instantly. This ignited something in Yang, a challenge that amused him. He pursued her relentlessly, determined to win her over. Eventually, his persistence paid off. They fell in love, got married, and started a life together in Hangzhou. With his skills, Yang excelled in the tour industry. He even received generous tips from some of the wealthy tourists. But little did they know things were about to fall apart. Soon, his wife gave birth to a daughter, then a son, completing their perfect little family. Yet, with joy came struggle. Raising 2 children was expensive. His once comfortable income was no longer enough, and financial stress crept into their marriage. To outsiders, Yang seemed like a man who had it all: a stable job, a loving wife, and a happy family. But deep inside, frustration grew. He was tired of just getting by. Since childhood, he had watched others enjoy luxuries, while he had to settle for less. He craved wealth, success, and a life beyond his modest means. Then fate presented an opportunity, one that promised riches beyond his dreams. It was risky, but the temptation was too strong to resist. A wealthy Singaporean woman entered his life, offering more than just financial security. But as passion and greed tangled together, Yang was blind to the danger ahead. Would his hunger for wealth lead him to the life he always wanted, or would it become his downfall? A deceptive scheme. Yang didn't just fantasize about wealth. He chased the nearest available option. He had heard whispers that guiding senior citizen tours was a goldmine. Some elderly tourists were lonely, trusting, and easy to manipulate. And if luck was on his side, maybe he'd meet a wealthy but naive old woman, marry her, and skyrocket into high society overnight. The thought sent a thrill through him. Without hesitation, Yang switched from leading youth tours to guiding senior citizens. This wasn't about passion, it was about opportunity. He knew that among the fragile and kind-hearted elderly, someone with deep pockets could change his fate. And soon, that opportunity arrived. One morning, Yang's boss summoned him for an urgent assignment. He was being sent on a business trip to Beijing. His task? to personally guide a wealthy elderly woman from Singapore, but before he left, his boss gave him a stern warning over the phone. "This woman is extremely rich. Do not, under any circumstances, displease her." Yang smirked. He had no intention of making her unhappy. Quite the opposite. This was the golden chance he had been waiting for, and he wasn't going to ruin it or let it pass him by. As he packed his bags, a sly grin crept across his face. Turning to his wife, he chuckled, "I'm off to Beijing to get rich." His wife wondered what he meant for a while, but eventually shrugged it off. On the other hand, Yan had no idea how true those words would become. After a long journey, Yang barely had time to settle in before rushing to meet the woman who he was hoping had the key to change his destiny. Her name was Zhong Qing-chun, a Singaporean traveler who had come to Beijing with her dear friend, Zhang Bin, for a leisurely vacation. Due to their age, they needed an experienced guide to assist them. From the moment Yang laid eyes on them, his instincts kicked in. It was obvious that Zhang wasn't just wealthy, she was drowning in riches. At 79 years old, she moved with the grace of someone who had spent her life in luxury. Her expensive jewelry sparkled under the city lights, and every inch of her attire screamed privilege. Zhang Bin was no different. Their handbags, watches, and scarves were all from elite brands. Yang had spent years perfecting the art of reading people, and he knew wealth when he saw it. But recognizing riches was one thing. Getting a piece of it was another. Over the next few days, he skillfully steered conversations, dropping subtle questions to gather information. Every answer Yang gave only confirmed what he suspected. She was exactly the kind of target he had been hoping for. She was wealthy, trusting, and most importantly, alone. A thrill coursed through him. If he played his cards right, this could be the moment he had been waiting for. Would he succeed in deceiving his way to fortune? Or was he about to step into a trap of his own making? Playing the part. Having gathered enough information that he needed, Yang saw his chance and went in for the kill. From the moment he met Zhang, he played his game with patience and precision, weaving a web of charm, flattery, and sweet deception. She never stood a chance. He was right about Yang. Born in Canada, she had lived a privileged life. Her family was wealthy, and when she married, she stepped into an even grander world. Her husband, a rich doctor from an elite family, inherited an enormous fortune, making Yang the wife of a high-society millionaire. Together they built an empire, investing in real estate and financial markets, turning their wealth into something almost unimaginable. But money couldn't protect her from the cruel hands of fate. In 2007, her husband suffered a sudden stroke and died, leaving her alone in a vast mansion filled with priceless paintings, antiques, and luxury cars. Though she had hundreds of millions in assets, none of it could fill the unbearable emptiness in her heart. She had no children, no family close by, only the heavy silence of a once happy home. And that was what Yan needed. He had already laid the foundation. During a trip where he served as her guide, he showered Zhang and her friend with kindness, his every word laced with affection. Zhang, gentle and generous, trusted him completely. She rewarded his efforts with a large tip, but that wasn't enough for Yang. He had a bigger prize in mind. After the trip, the letters began. Sweet, longing, filled with admiration. He told Zhang she was special, that he thought of her constantly, that he missed her so much he couldn't sleep. Slowly his words became her lifeline. She found herself waiting for his letters, craving his affection. The loneliness that had threatened to consume her was now replaced by a warm, intoxicating connection. A year passed, and Yang tightened his grip. Letters weren't enough, he claimed. He had to see her. His words dripped with devotion. How could she refuse? She didn't know that. Across the ocean, Yang's wife, Wang Yandan, was growing suspicious. The constant calls, the letters. It was all too much to ignore. Then, after a long time of suspicions and trying to understand what was going on with her husband, Yandan confronted her husband. Did Yan disclose the full details of his deceptive scheme to his wife? And how did she react when she heard what her husband had been planning all along? Closing in on the target. Without holding anything back, Yan explained everything to his wife, leaving no details uncovered. At first, one would have thought that Wang Yandan would get angry and scold him for being shameless, but instead, she did the opposite. She fully supported her husband in keeping a romantic relationship with the wealthy old woman, all for the sake of money. With his wife backing him, Yang carefully planned how to make a fortune. This is why he later moved to Singapore, determined to get as much wealth from Zhong as possible. In 2009, Yan decided to press further in his scheme. As Zhong aged, her health started to decline. Seeing an opportunity, Yang suggested moving to Singapore to take care of her. To Zhong, this seemed like a thoughtful and reasonable idea. She even ordered a new set of clothes to welcome him. On the day of his arrival, Zhong sent her private driver to pick him up. When Yang stepped into her home, he hugged the elderly woman warmly, leaving the housemaids shocked. As he looked around, Yang was stunned. Zhong lived in unbelievable luxury. Her massive mansion, about 16,000 square feet, was filled with servants ready to meet her every need. Beyond that, she owned a vast estate of nearly 7.5 acres. Seeing all this, Yang felt he had made the right decision. Such wealth was far beyond anything he could achieve on his own. If he wanted it, there was only one way. He had to take it from her. Settling into the mansion, Yang worked hard to win Zhong's trust. He learned her likes and dislikes, making every effort to please her. To everyone around them, he appeared as a caring and devoted young man. He took her on daily walks, engaged her in long conversations, massaged her hands, and even trimmed her nails. He acted as if her happiness was his top priority. The female staff in Yang's home couldn't ignore what they saw. Their relationship seemed too close to be just friendship. When they asked, Yang simply said Yan was her adopted grandson, someone she had met by chance. But their actions spoke differently. They hugged, kissed, and showed increasing affection in front of others. However, since this was their employer's private matter, the servants chose to stay silent. As time passed, their bond seemed to grow stronger. But Yan had a problem. He was only in Singapore on a tourist visa. If he wanted to stay permanently, he needed another plan. So he turned to Zhong and shared his worries. With tears in his eyes, he told her that he couldn't bear to leave. He claimed his only wish was to stay by her side forever. His words sounded deeply sincere. Zhong, not wanting him to go, started looking for ways to keep him in Singapore. Yang had found a smooth way in, and now he just needed to secure his place. What was his next plan? A carefully crafted lie. In Singapore, there were limited legal ways for foreigners to gain permanent residency through skilled migration, marriage-based immigration, or special residency programs. Yan knew this, so he came up with a clever plan. He spent money to open a factory under his name, which technically made him a business owner instead of just a regular worker. However, Yang never intended to actually run a company. The factory existed only on paper, an empty shell meant to help him achieve his real goal, which was to secure a permanent residency. His plan worked, and he successfully got the residency status he wanted. After securing his place in Singapore, Yang focused all his attention on gaining Zhong's trust and affection. He acted like a caring partner, always making her feel loved and special. Zhong, being simple-hearted and trusting, quickly fell under his charm. She allowed Yang to take control of the household finances and trusted him completely. Yang's life improved dramatically. He drove luxury cars, wore expensive watches, lived in a mansion, and never had to worry about expenses. His social status rose, and he even shared a bed with Zhang, living like a married couple. However, Yang wasn't satisfied with just a luxurious lifestyle. He constantly thought of new ways to take more money from Zhang. At first, he asked her for money, claiming his business needed more capital. Zhang, believing in his sincerity, gave him the money without question. In reality, his so-called company had no employees, no real operations. It was just a fake business. All the money Zhang gave him went straight into his pocket. Yang soon realized that asking for money wasn't enough. He needed a faster, bigger way to get rich. He remembered that Zhang loved collecting calligraphy and paintings and had a room dedicated to displaying her valuable collection. Although Yang had no real interest in art, he remembered Zhang mentioning that her collection was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. What was a casual comment to Zhang became a golden opportunity for Yang. He came up with a new plan. He secretly swapped some of her valuable paintings with fakes, making her believe that nothing had changed. At the same time, he pretended to help her expand her collection, selling her counterfeit art at the price of genuine masterpieces. Through this dishonest scheme, Yang managed to cheat Zhang out of nearly 10 million yuan. By 2013, Zhang was 86 years old, and sadly, her health began to decline. She developed dementia, and her mind became less clear. Yang saw this as a chance to take even more. He moved his entire family into Zhang's mansion, and there was no one to stop him. Zhang's trust in Yang had been absolute, and now she was too vulnerable to see through his schemes. But how did fate finally catch up with Yang? What mistake did he make that ultimately led to his downfall and exposed his wicked schemes? The law of karma. Yang's schemes became more daring and shocking over time. Eventually, Zhang trusted him completely, giving him control over her entire household. She signed several agreements, unknowingly giving away all her wealth to Yang. He even convinced her to sign a will that left her entire fortune to him after her death. By this point, Yang must have felt unstoppable. It seemed he was just waiting for Zhang to pass away so he could finally claim her vast wealth. However, something unexpected happened sooner than Yang had planned. In 2014, Zhang's niece, Mo Qing, noticed changes in her aunt. Zhang's mental state was unstable, shifting between confusion and clarity. Concerned, Qing quietly reached out to a household staff member to understand what had been happening in Zhang's home. The housemaid shared everything: how Yang had moved in, how he brought a woman and 2 children into the house, and even small details about their daily lives. She revealed that Yang's family was treated like part of the household, while Zhang seemed to be slipping away from her own life. Qing quickly realized that Yang's manipulation went deeper than she had imagined. Wanting to learn more, she reached out to another trusted staff member who had served Yang for years. The staff member revealed something even more disturbing. Yang had once tried to bribe her to secretly switch Yang's medication. When the maid refused, Yang's health began to decline more rapidly. It became clear to Qing that Yang had been carefully manipulating Yang and isolating her from the people who genuinely cared about her. Seeing her frail, confused aunt, who had unknowingly handed over full control of her assets to Yang, Qing knew it was time to act. She reached out to Zhang's distant relatives in Singapore, and together they began gathering evidence. They discovered illegal agreements, fake signatures, and suspicious financial transfers. Yang had sold off Yang's valuable calligraphy artwork, jewelry, and other prized collectibles, secretly moving the profits into his accounts. Eventually, Qing and Zhang's relatives took the matter to court, accusing Yang of financial exploitation and asset misappropriation. At first, Yang denied any wrongdoing, confident that his manipulation had left no trace. However, he was unprepared for the housemaid and Yang's personal driver to testify against him. The housemaid confirmed that Yang had attempted to tamper with Zhang's medication. while the driver revealed details of Yang's deceitful behavior. The investigation revealed even more. Yang's permanent residency permit in Singapore had been obtained using false information. He had used illegal methods to transfer assets under Zhang's name into his own accounts. The court discovered that Yang had been selling Zhang's valuable belongings for years, treating her estate as his personal property. In October 2014, the Singaporean court charged Yang with document forgery, immigration fraud, and financial exploitation. Yang's plans crumbled. His reputation was shattered, and he faced legal consequences. His wife and children were exposed as accomplices in his deception. The truth behind Yang's supposed love for Zhang was revealed, and it had always been about greed and wealth. The woman he had taken advantage of had once trusted him completely, but in the end, his betrayal left a lasting impact on everyone involved. What legal consequences do Yan and his wife now face? How do you feel about their deceptive scheme? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it!